After VCT, you probably have one question on your mind. Is Demon1 washed? Let's find out right now by looking at some of his rank footage. Responding to a standard A-take here.
Not up. We've been fixed.
He popped dashed a little too early here.
He's out.
Oops. One enemy
It's looking pretty hot.
Trend.
This is where we make a small mistake. Now, many times whenever I'm coaching students, I always talk about how you need to control yourself and control the excitement factor. When you're playing ranked and you're a pro player, there really isn't anything on the line, so a lot of the decisions that you make aren't going to be what you'll do in an actual environment. We have a ton of things I can work off of. First of all, we have darts from Sova that could be sent in from CT at any point in time into A, most likely. I would say that probably at this point the dart's back. Usually you throw it at the beginning of the round and see if it was thrown. But when you take this first kill, you get another one, you start feeling yourself, you're like, where's the next one, where's the next one? Immediately if you pause frame right here, you're looking at the environment for what it is. There's a minute and 10 seconds left, we know where the last person is, and we don't want to force a 1v1, because if you force a 1v1 in the situation, Sova takes advantage of it, and then all of a sudden, 2v1 situation, you might get another 1v1 from their Phoenix, and then you can see how far away in this mini-map Sova is in Timbuktu still, in comparison to where things are going right now. So there really isn't any need to force any fight here, and when you let the excitement factor take over, a lot of times you make mistakes like this and isolate that 1v1.
Trend. They're totally made like 4.
He's moved to this position because he's seen so many top middle, so he's figuring that it's probably going to be end A. Obviously this is open on the minimap now, so he's got to kind of cover this position. Good long range position for the Guardian. Seeing a bunch towards B at this point, I'd be asking for information about him. We need to know what's going on over at B. He could isolate himself here for a fight, which would be terrible. So one of the things I talk about a lot with students is that you have 3 people over here, you have 1 person over here. Now, Demon1 has one of the biggest egos in the game, obviously. He's going to want to take fights all the time. So he's going to be very, very confident, very ego-driven. You are putting yourself in a nasty spot, even if they're on eco right now, which they are on eco, to be isolated and attacked through here. I don't know what's going on at B, and it's that lack of communication from him asking that information to know if this is actually a good decision or not. In this situation, I would be over to the right-hand side. You're able to escape, you can survive, take some shots if you wanted to, but ultimately you can live for the retake if they decide to rush the site. He's putting himself in an awful risky position right now, as there's 2 angles that could be isolating him. So now, at this point here, with all this mid-take space and all this B space right here, it's going to be an A end. So there's a chance that they could have got up Cat right now, so he could be split on this area and split on this area. This is a telltale sign right now with 45 seconds that you're in big trouble. So he's going to have to pop off in this position, or he's going to have to find a way to get out of here. He might have a fraction of a second to do so.
That could be in tree in our spawn.
That is a risk there. I like that he does communicate there is a chance they could go into our spawn just by like walking through tree here. There is that opening. With how much time is elapsing, he's predicting that could be a possibility just because he hasn't seen any action towards it right now. So now it's making it really awkward for him too, because there's 3 angles now, 1, 2, and 3. So he's like in a really bad spot right now. Dart coming in from tree. One up garden. There's Sova.
Oh my.
Popped a dash obviously right here.
1 enemy remaining.
Perfect. So he pops off. But you can see how that could have created an opportunity for them to win that round. Had they taken him out there, this round could be completely shifted and different. So many opportunities for people to just creep up and lurk, and there was no, coverage of that. So you're in a very, very dangerous position. And oftentimes when you have all of these openings here, you just need to back up and give it respect. I often like to play in this position, in this spot. Let them take A, and have my teammates be set up for a good retake position. The goal is to keep the enemy in front of you at all times, and in his mind he was thinking there is a chance they could come up and flank me here, so you're not going to be in the most confident position to take gunfights, even if you're Demon1. He died real fast here. Now, there's a couple things here. The passive mindset of mine says to take this spot and jump to peek it, instead of going for the gunfight. And in a round like this too, you don't necessarily want to take this fight at long range, considering the fact that they do have Vandals. So you obviously have a Guardian, so you could make it work. But do you need to? You have the defensive utility already set up, so you know they can't pass in this position with the KJ utility up. Do you have to take this peek? Now, is this an info peek? If it's an info peek in this situation, most players who aren't godly, like Demon1 with his confidence in his aim, would jump peek this for info long before they would ever take a jiggle peek. So you need to ask yourself as a player, do I need a jiggle peek here? Do I have to commit for a fight? And is it more worth going for going for the information rather than going for a committed fight? In this case, he went for a committed fight and he did it really early into the round. So I would say that the cost risk benefit will go more into the favor of the risk than it would go for the benefits here. This is looking like it's going to be a B split or no? Okay, there's one up there playing slow. 2 on A.
You think I could jump over this turret?
Yeah.
KJ towards tiles. Okay, so KJ is going to be here. You might see a split of 2 on Cat at this point and 2 on A main.
20 seconds. 20 seconds.
This is risky. This is very, very risky at this point. Do we need to against an eco? Do we need to against an eco? So, who knows what was going through Demon1's mind here, but you really don't need to. Again, this happens at all ranks. Not only just Radiant, it happens in Diamond a lot. It happens in Platinum a lot. It's the question of, do I need to? D-I-N-T. This is the protocol. With 58 seconds left, with them being on eco, with you being in such a good position, knowing that this is a really high risk of a fight, close range, this is feeding into exactly what the opponent wants. So you have to drop the ego in this situation, play back, play into garden, hold long range angles if you want to fight this area, or to play even further back, playing into this position, and then respond to a tree play. The one thing you have to do is, if you're going to play pass like this, you have to remind your Omen that you are leaving this space open. Otherwise, you hang him out to dry as well. So everyone playing back in a passive position this late into the round, with it being a 4v4 gun advantage in your favor, is the proper play here.
Who's next?
B-rush.
This is where
Oh,
you have to learn to give respect, Chad. Whenever you're opping, whenever you're rifling, whenever, if a Yoru ult comes out, you give it respect. No different than you would a Phoenix ult or a few other ults that you see on the map, being KJ, for example. Give it respect. Omen ult, give it respect. Well, what that means is you fall back, play passive, and play for retake, which is exactly what we're doing here as a team.
Your ult and them just have 100 of.
We're gonna probably have to pop knives here to be able to take close range fights.
Maybe.
Huge shot.
He did have a judge. He did
Huge
have a
entry.
judge.
Spike planted.
Oh wait, he died.
Lane is a threat here. Lane's clean. Still have B main as a possible threat here. There it is. B main's out. So now we're looking at backside being the control area. Beautiful one way.
One enemy remaining.
Grabs a rifle. Can't quite do it, but the entry in. I want to talk about how important it is to use your dash for entry rather than going for frags. Sometimes you need to do that to get a frag to guarantee it, but using and staging an entry is super important here. The reason why we win this round as a defending team is that we staged this perfectly. We gave respect to Yoru ult early. They started using their utility, so they have less utility. We have more on the retake. The next phase to this fight is controlling this space. Once they get control of that space, which they just acquired right here, they can now stage their attack into B site as so. Using the dash, you can get easy space to be able to jump into it, much like you would if you were on attacker side moving into A site or attacker side moving into B site, the same way you would move into switch, dashing in to get space to be able to create room for your team to be able to trade off you and be able to ultimately win the round. You see a perfect example of this as Demon1 picks up a rifle, dashes into sight, overshoots his smoke unfortunately, but is able to create that space to be able to equal up a perfect trade for his killjoy, be able to win this round. The big issue here is the speed in which Demon1 clears CT after he ends up hitting the switch. He simply needs to hold this smoke for half a second more to figure out exactly what's going on site, using his Phoenix as a little bit of info, kind of like a little bit of a bait, to figure out where the next threat is. Obviously, the stairs are going to not be a problem with Phoenix being here. Market will be an issue, and CT most likely will not be an issue, being that there's a smoke there. So all we have to do out of this smoke is quickly hit the switch to be able to start closing the door, and then we want to quickly clear out this area and then move wrap around to the smoke to cross our place where market could be if the door hasn't fully closed yet. Watch the pathing after this. It's just a little bit too fast, and that small gap is the mistake that is big enough to be able to create an opening for this Rain to be able to pick him off. In short, as a duelist, when you go for this cloud burst dash, you have 2 seconds to be able to hold that smoke to think about what your next step is. Slow down and cross or place the next likely threat.
They're all spawn.
Could be out.
Third. They're having third.
Strike down B.
One third.
Last player.
Oh.
Spawn and market, I think.
There's a couple of things about this round that I really love for the defensive team. The first one is this smoke right here. This is something that Omen mains need to start doing a little bit more of. It's a great way to be able to path in, to be able to retake the site, and be able to flood in through stairs when you've lost control. Think of it kind of like an avenue or a wall that is placed up here, so you're able to access the space and be able to flood in at any given time. This can disturb post-plant or even disturb the pre-plant to be able to catch people off guard quite frequently. You'll notice this is a smoke as well that you can do on attack. If you're playing on attack going into ascent, you can place a smoke like this very similarly along the entrance and be able to path in and through it to be able to flood in through lane the same way as you would with this smoke going right through here, be able to flood in through stairs.
Here, you can bait me, bro. Just give my trade. Move GMD, man. Move.
Cover going out.
Wait.
They're probably playing retake on the site based on what I'm seeing here.
Just wait, just wait, just wait.
It is a retake. They even called it.
I think it's a retake. I
Yeah.
think he dropped. I think he dropped out.
So how did we know this was a retake? This was actually a perfectly set up smoke for them to be able to stage off of. With Killjoy utility being placed around here, it's almost like it's being set up in a scout position. So when you're going into the site, you're actually setting yourself up for a trap. Utility will be blasted through here, utility will be blasted through here. We have Reyna Leers we have to worry about, Omen Leers, Omen Paranoias, and Yoru Flashes, as well as the darts coming in from Sova. This is a very awkward comp to play against, and it's a perfect comp to be able to do this retake setup that they're doing right here. So falling into this trap, you'll be able to make these signs and these reads really quickly from this kind of thing. Will there be someone from A main? It's possible. They definitely could play out of it. But when you see these kinds of signs, usually this means this is the weaker site and the heavier site is coming from B side. So you're looking at more aggression from this space and more passive positioning on the defensive area.
Heaven.
The best way to deal with any kind of retake setup is to attack the staging ground. I've talked about this before in the Fnatic VOD review that I did a few weeks ago, where you want to actually push through Garden. This was a perfect round to do that. Being that it is an eco round, we do have knives active, we have sheriffs active, so fighting for close range fights, even flashing through onto that smoke placed on Garden, would be perfect for this situation, being with a Phoenix leading in and a Jett dash going in as well. After watching that, it's clear that Demon1 still has all the core fundamentals of a great player. After only playing 2 matches in the last qualifier, it's unfair to really say that he is a washed player. We have to see a lot more detail and evidence to be able to confirm otherwise. But for right now, I still think he's one of the GOATs, and it's good to see him still playing.